new journal. I'm very excited about it. Hi, I am currently sitting in the parking lot of my old high school. I wanted to get out today and talk to you a little bit about journaling, one of my favorite things. Why am I here, you might ask? Well, let's chat about it. In March of 2020, when the world started to fall apart, I was in my senior year of high school. That was canceled because of COVID. And so in sort of that chaos, and we didn't really know what was going to happen or what was going on, I started a journal. Ever since then, I've been sort of documenting my life and documenting the world around me and making sense of really strong emotions that come with growing up. This is one of my journals. It's the one I am finishing at the end of this year. I started it when I went out to California to start my college career. I was like, let's start a fresh journal, and this is the end of it. And it's a really special thing to me. I keep this close to my chest because I love it. So why do this? Why start a journal? First off, here's the biggest thing you need to understand. Your life is important. Documenting your life is important. Remembering your life is important. That's one of the biggest reasons, right? It's a good way for me to really capture how I'm feeling at a specific time. I tend to romanticize things and wear rose-colored glasses, and sometimes that's really great, but other times I just want to know what life really was like in these specific transitory times. As you move further away from events, it's hard to remember the intricacies and the details of how they felt. And for me, it's been important the past 2 years of my journaling to remember those details. Honestly though, I think the biggest thing is when times get rough, having this to be your friend and going to it's hugely important. I've tried a couple therapists and I find that so far, this is better. This is better and it's free. So you should do this. You should go do therapy if you need therapy, but also do this because when you go to like your therapy appointment and you've forgotten all of the shit that's gone on this week, remember it. You'll have something to talk about in the appointment. If therapy's too expensive or it's just not right for you right now, this probably is. And I think the reason journaling is so important when it comes to those like rough times in life, the way I tend to describe it is like emotions, especially at this phase of my life when I'm 20 years old and I'm still growing up, they feel so much like a hurricane. One day things are great, the next day things are not great. Every problem is so big. That process of taking that hurricane of emotions and converting it into the confines of language, I find really help me to identify and act upon those emotions and how I feel about them. I think also an important thing, especially if you're in a similar phase of life that I'm at, where you're sort of going between home and college, or maybe you're just going between different geographical locations in general, this remains a constant in my life. I bring it with me wherever I'm going. And so this is sort of like a home to me. And it was a home to me at times where I felt like I didn't have a home. Over time, the pages, they shouldn't feel intimidating or stressful or like you need to get it all right. I think if you look at it like that and you try not to feel that pressure of, never making a spelling mistake or never gluing something in wrong, you're gonna enjoy it a lot more. Okay, now I wanna give you a little bit of a tour of my diary. I bought a new one, as you can see from the intro. My diary is the Lukrembo 1917 in ruled. Here's why you would want to get something like this. Does it need to be this exact brand? No. There's a couple popular brands. The other big popular one is Moleskine. I tend to not like that one just because the pages on this one are better and they're about equally priced, so I would rather go with this one. A couple cool things about this one is it comes with a table of contents. So when you finish your journal, you can go back and write in the different pages with what they were about. Each page is also numbered as well, which is pretty handy because I don't want to do that. Another thing is every Lukrembo journal comes with this sheet of paper here, and these are stickers. The first one goes on the front of your journal. The second one down here goes on the side of your journal. When I first got it, I was like, why would anyone use these? They're actually very helpful. On my first journal I have, which I don't have with me right now, on the side I have the dates of when that journal was in use, sort of a title for that journal, almost like you're writing your own little book. And it's pretty cool that these come with that when you start to build your wall of journals, which hopefully I will over the next, say, 80 years of my life. 6 years of my life. I'll have a nice little wall of journals, which will be fun and cute and nice. Now, does any of this really matter for starting a journal? No, not really. If you take one tip from me though, I must recommend that whichever journal you buy has stitched paper. Most paper for notebooks you'll see in stores are sort of just glued in. That's great for just normal notebook writing, but what that also means is as your journal expands, that glue is likely to rip and your pages might start to come out. I had this experience with my first journal. It's not ideal. When you go with a higher quality journal, one that's made for journaling, the pages will be stitched in, so as your journal expands, the pages won't start falling out. I also really like this one though because it has this little strap here. What that allows me to do is keep this monster at bay. Okay, cool. We've talked about why you should journal, what type of journal you should buy, and honestly, a composition notebook sort of checks a lot of the big boxes here. The pages are stitched in, it's ruled, all of that, right? So you could just get a $1 composition notebook if you really wanted, but I want to give you a little bit of a tour of my own diary, so that way you could get some inspiration, because my creativity is not shown in art or coloring or drawing or anything like that. So when you see a ton of YouTubers who have these really beautiful journals, it's like, damn, I wish I could do that, but I don't want to invest the time in that. What I like to do in my journal is keep receipts and photos and maybe stickers I get from the different places I've been to. If you have any photos you like on your phone, you can pretty easily get cheap prints at any drugstore, and you can stick those in your journal pretty cheaply, pretty easily, and they look pretty good. What kind of stuff do I write in my journal? It tends to be updates and thoughts about what's going on. Sometimes it's more reflective, but also sometimes if things are really turbulent, it'll just be a brain dump of how I'm feeling. And I'm not even trying to make sense of these feelings, really. I'm just writing it down and listing all of these thoughts that are in my head. Or other times, it will be a letter to someone that I know I can't really give ever, or I can't really tell them that. But for me and for what I want to say, I will write this letter to them where I can say openly and honestly everything I'd want to say and sort of move on. But most of the time, it doesn't have to be that intricate. It can be, I went to the grocery store today. I felt good about it because I got out of bed and went to the grocery store today. It doesn't need to be that reflective or thoughtful. Most of mine aren't. They're just sort of updates about how my life is going, or when something exciting or big happens, I'll write that in there too. But don't feel any pressure to have these grand spreads or just spend hours and hours on each page. Like, I definitely don't do that, and I definitely don't think that's necessary. My page usually looks like the header is the city I'm in, the date I'm there, and then I start writing. And I think maybe my last tip would be, don't give yourself sort of a quota for when you need to write an entry. I think a lot of people go in with the intention of saying, I'm gonna write every day. I never went in with that intention. Here's the reason why. Many years ago, I wrote in a journal every day, and I never looked back at that journal. Because look, most of my days are boring. Most of my days I'm doing homework or I'm watching Netflix. And who wants to go back and look at all of their boring days? I know I don't. Write in the journal when you feel the need to, when you want to remember something or capture a moment or capture a feeling. And if you don't give yourself this quota, you know that when you go to look at an entry, each one is gonna have some significance. And defining that meaning or defining what that looks like for you is gonna be a big part of your process. But for me, that means not making myself write when I don't want to. That's me. That's how I journal. I started this YouTube channel with the intention of taking this journaling and putting it in a visual format. And so I wanted to give you some of my tips on how I journal in a written format, because you can see how I do it visually. So I hope you liked it. It's a little bit different from what I tend to do, because this isn't really a journal entry per se. This is more of just let me help you. I'm also getting really hot in this car because it's getting hot out. The sun is hot and I'm wearing a sweater. So I'm gonna go ahead and say goodbye now. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, hopefully I'll see you next time, okay? Maybe we'll talk about film cameras soon, because that's another favorite thing of mine. Anyways, cheers to that.